The war between the Arkan Dominion and the Sithar Federation had raged for centuries, and the galaxy had become a place where only the strongest survived. The conflict had consumed entire star systems, leaving countless worlds shattered and populations decimated. Two factions locked in a brutal stalemate, fighting for dominance, with no clear victor in sight. Earth had always been a distant observer, a small planet in a vast universe, unaware of the cosmic struggle that threatened to tear the stars apart. Humanity had focused on its own wars, its own problems, oblivious to the galactic conflict brewing just beyond its reach. Then everything changed. The first signs came as faint signals intercepted by Earth's deep space observatories, mysterious transmissions carrying encrypted data that seemed to be calling out to someone or something in the distant corners of space. The scientists on Earth had no idea what they were witnessing. At first, many thought it was a cosmic anomaly, but as the days passed, the signals became clearer and more frequent. Eventually, Earth's space agencies pieced together the truth. The transmissions were a distress call sent from the warfront, a cry for help from the Federation, urging Earth to take part in the conflict that had consumed the galaxy. For the leaders of Earth, this revelation was both a shock and a burden. The planet had been a peaceful one. Its people had spent their lives focused on exploration and scientific advancement, but they had never prepared for a war of this magnitude. No one had expected humanity to be thrust into the heart of an intergalactic struggle. When the call came, Earth was still struggling to deal with its own challenges. Climate change, poverty, and political unrest left the planet divided and unsure of its place in the cosmos. But the Federation's message was clear: the galaxy needed help, and Earth had the potential to make a difference. At first, many doubted that humanity could contribute anything of value to a war between two ancient and powerful factions. Some believed that Earth's technology was far too primitive to stand a chance against the vast fleets and devastating weapons of the Dominion and Federation. But the Federation's leaders argued that humanity's creativity and adaptability were qualities that could tip the scales in their favor. Earth's leaders hesitated, but ultimately the call to action could not be ignored. Humanity's first step into the galactic war was a tentative one. As Earth began to send ships and soldiers into the unknown, they were seen by the Dominion and Federation as little more than an afterthought. Their fleets were small and their ships were outdated compared to the formidable vessels of the other factions. But Earth's soldiers were driven by a singular desire to protect their planet and their people. They were not trained warriors but survivors, and it was this raw determination that made them dangerous. The galaxy had never seen a species so willing to fight for its home. As Earth's forces arrived at the front lines, the Arkan and Sithar fleets continued their endless battle, their ships clashing in a fiery dance of destruction. Unaware that something new was about to enter the fray, humanity's arrival on the galactic stage was nothing short of a shock, but it was a shock the galaxy was about to feel in ways it could never have imagined. Earth's first encounter with the warfront was nothing like anyone had imagined. The ships that arrived were old, their technology rudimentary compared to the advanced fleets of the Arkan Dominion and Sithar Federation. Earth's ships were little more than hastily assembled vessels cobbled together from whatever resources they could find. Their weapons were primitive compared to the devastating armaments of the galactic powers. Yet as these ships entered the conflict, something happened that no one expected. The other factions, both Dominion and Federation, looked on with curiosity and slight disdain, not taking humanity seriously at first. They were late, outmatched, and would likely be swept aside as a minor nuisance. But when the first battle began, it became clear that humanity had something neither the Dominion nor the Federation could have predicted. The first engagement saw the Earth fleet facing off against a Dominion warship. On paper, it should have been an easy win for the Arkan forces. Their ships were massive, heavily armored, and equipped with powerful energy weapons capable of obliterating most adversaries. Yet when Earth's fleet arrived, the Dominion found itself facing an enemy that didn't play by the rules. The human ships lacked the advanced shields or weaponry of the Dominion ships, but they had something else, a raw unpredictability that threw the Arkan commanders off balance. The human vessels moved in ways no other faction's ships would have dared. They used their small size and limited technology to their advantage, dodging and weaving in the chaos of the battle. Their tactics were erratic, seemingly chaotic, but effective. Earth's ships would dart in, launch a barrage of weapons, and then quickly retreat before the Dominion could retaliate. It was as if the humans had no fear of losing. They weren't bound by centuries of galactic warfare traditions, and this lack of convention made them harder to predict. Then came the unexpected. One of Earth's older cruisers, the U.S. Vanguard, engaged in an act of sheer desperation. It fired a new weapon, a pulse of energy unlike anything the Dominion had ever seen. The weapon was not perfect. It had been an experiment, a last-minute addition to the ship's arsenal. But when it fired, the results were staggering. The pulse of energy tore through the Dominion warship's shields and ripped into its hull with terrifying precision. The Dominion cruiser was left crippled, its weapons systems disabled, and its engines destroyed. The Federation, watching from a distance, was stunned. It was a move they hadn't anticipated. Humans, despite their primitive technology, had just destroyed a Dominion ship in a single strike. The galactic powers had underestimated Earth, but the first battle was only the beginning. The Dominion, now aware that this was not just a simple species entering the war, began to shift its strategy. They could no longer dismiss humanity as insignificant. As for the Federation, their leaders watched with growing interest. They had long believed that the Dominion's strength would be enough to tip the balance in their favor, but now they were unsure. Humanity's unpredictability and drive made them a wild card, a force that could not be accounted for in the old rules of galactic warfare. The Federation wasn't sure if they could trust this new player in the war, but they couldn't deny the undeniable truth. Humanity had just made its mark on the galactic stage, and it would not be ignored. The galaxy was starting to realize that Earth had arrived late to the war, but they were bringing something that could change everything. The unexpected victory against the Dominion sent shockwaves through both the Arkan and Sithar ranks. The Federation, still trying to understand how a human ship had taken down a cruiser with such a devastating pulse weapon, began to take a closer look at Earth's sudden rise on the battlefield. The Dominion, furious and bewildered, immediately started analyzing the anomaly. How had humans, with their outdated ships and lack of experience, managed to damage one of their most formidable vessels? What they discovered was something they had never anticipated. Humanity was hiding a technological leap that could change the course of the war. The pulse weapon fired by the U.S. Vanguard was not a simple weapon by any means. It was an experimental technology, a product of Earth's hurried attempts to catch up with galactic advancements. The weapon used quantum energy to destabilize matter at a subatomic level, essentially causing a controlled collapse of molecular structures. It was a technology no one in the galaxy had seen before, and its origins were shrouded in mystery. The Federation and Dominion could not understand how Earth had developed such advanced technology so quickly. The weapon's power seemed to defy the laws of physics they had all adhered to for centuries. Earth's leaders, aware that they were now the center of attention, kept the true source of their new technology, a closely guarded secret. The truth was that the quantum pulse technology came from an ancient artifact buried deep within Earth itself. Discovered in a hidden underground facility during a series of seismic tremors, the artifact was far older than anything humanity had ever encountered. It had been buried for millennia, waiting to be uncovered. The artifact was of unknown origin, possibly from a civilization long extinct, but its capabilities were beyond anything humanity could have dreamed. When Earth scientists began to study it, they found it contained vast amounts of knowledge, data encoded in ways that no modern technology could replicate. The artifact not only provided new energy sources, but also seemed to accelerate humanity's understanding of quantum physics and energy manipulation. It was as if the artifact had unlocked a dormant potential in human innovation. The human mind, when exposed to the artifact's power, began to think in ways that were once impossible. It allowed them to push the boundaries of technology and create weapons and defenses that were previously only theoretical. As Earth's forces began to deploy the quantum weapons more regularly, the galaxy's balance of power began to shift. The Dominion, once confident in their superiority, found their advanced shields and armor systems useless against the quantum pulse. Even their most advanced warships could not withstand the weapon's destructive force. The Federation, initially skeptical, now saw Earth as a potential ally, but also a potential threat. If humanity could continue to advance at this rate, they might one day surpass even the most advanced galactic civilizations. The situation had become delicate. The Federation, though grateful for Earth's involvement, grew nervous about the rapid pace of human development. If Earth's technology continued to evolve unchecked, it might soon become a dominant force in the galaxy, capable of reshaping the power structure. The Dominion, desperate to maintain their control, began to search for ways to exploit the artifact's power for themselves. They knew that if they could get their hands on the source of Earth's newfound power, they could turn the tide of the war in their favor. As both factions scrambled to understand and control the human secret, Earth remained resolute. Their people, driven by the need to protect their planet and secure their future, were pushing forward with all the energy and ingenuity they could muster. They had entered the war late, but they were quickly proving that the galaxy had underestimated them. And as Earth's forces continued to grow stronger, one thing became clear: humanity had arrived, and they were not going to be pushed aside. The more Earth's fleet fought, the clearer it became that humanity's strength lay not just in their rapidly advancing technology, but in their ability to adapt and innovate in ways that no other faction could. The Dominion and Federation had spent centuries perfecting their strategies, relying on carefully honed tactics and rigid command structures. But Earth's soldiers, sailors, and commanders had something different: an unyielding creativity and a drive to survive that no amount of tradition could contain. Admiral Elena Kincaid, one of Earth's brightest tactical minds, began to stand out among the fleet's commanders. Unlike the Federation's rigid generals or the Dominion's coldly calculating leaders, Kincaid was a product of Earth's chaotic yet determined culture. She had no formal training in galactic warfare, but she had grown up in a world of constant change and struggle. Earth was a planet that had faced environmental disasters, economic collapses, and political unrest. In such an environment, people learned to think on their feet and make do with what they had. Kincaid's approach was simple: use every asset at your disposal and never fight the way your enemy expects. Kincaid's first major success came during a joint operation with the Federation to take back a strategic outpost from the Dominion. The Federation's fleet, with its superior ships and advanced weaponry, was prepared for a conventional assault. Kincaid, however, had a different plan. She took a handful of Earth's older, slower vessels and used them to create a decoy. While the Dominion's forces were drawn toward the decoy, the rest of the human fleet, using guerrilla tactics, struck from an unexpected angle, causing massive confusion among the Dominion ranks. The battle ended in a decisive victory, and Kincaid's unorthodox tactics became the talk of both the Federation and the Dominion. Her victory was not just a testament to her skill, but to the adaptability of the human spirit. Earth's fleet was not built for long-term space warfare, but they made up for it with their ingenuity. Human commanders, like Kincaid, were learning to read enemy movements in real time, adjusting tactics in the heat of battle. Where the Dominion and Federation relied on meticulously crafted strategies, humanity was fluid, constantly evolving its approach to meet the ever-changing circumstances of war. The Dominion's commanders, known for their precision and control, began to grow frustrated. They could no longer predict what Earth would do next. It was as if the very essence of human nature was throwing off the old rules of war. The Federation, on the other hand, began to see the value in Earth's unpredictable nature. At first, they had doubted humanity's ability to contribute anything of significance, but now they were seeing a different side to their new allies. The Federation's forces, once stiff and bound by tradition, started to incorporate some of Earth's tactics into their own operations. The result was a combined force that was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. human creativity, paired with the Federation's advanced technology, formed a dangerous combination. The Dominion, realizing they were being outmaneuvered, began to retreat, slowly losing ground as Earth's fleet gained momentum. But it wasn't just the soldiers and commanders who were benefiting from Earth's adaptability. The civilian engineers and scientists, working tirelessly to improve the fleet's technology, were pushing the boundaries of what was thought possible. Earth's warships, though still not as advanced as their enemies, were beginning to integrate alien technology into their designs. These hybrid ships, combining human ingenuity with Federation and even Dominion tech, became increasingly formidable. What Earth lacked in resources, they made up for in determination and a relentless desire to improve. As the war continued, the galaxy began to realize that Earth was not a mere participant. They were changing the very nature of the conflict. Humanity had no legacy of war, no centuries of warfare tradition to follow. They were a blank slate, and that was what made them so dangerous. The galaxy had underestimated them, and now it was clear that the price for that mistake would be high. As Earth's fleet continued to make its mark, a shift began to occur, not just in the tactics being used, but in the very way the war was being fought. The Dominion, once confident in their overwhelming strength, found themselves facing a new kind of opponent, one whose creativity and adaptability seemed to defy all their expectations. Earth's forces were not simply fighting for victory. They were fighting for survival, for their home, for everything they had ever known. This fierce determination became a powerful weapon in itself, one that the galaxy was beginning to take notice of. Admiral Elena Kincaid, who had once been seen as an outlier with her unorthodox methods, became the centerpiece of Earth's rising reputation. Her ability to read the battlefield in real time and pivot strategies on the fly had made her one of the most respected commanders in the fleet. Her crew, a mix of civilians and military personnel, followed her lead with unwavering loyalty. They trusted her not just because of her skill, but because of her belief in them. Earth's soldiers, in turn, trusted each other in ways the Dominion and Federation couldn't understand. They were united by a singular goal: to protect their home, no matter the cost. In one of the most defining moments of the war, Earth's fleet found themselves facing a massive Dominion offensive. The Dominion had brought their full strength to bear, hoping to crush Earth's forces once and for all. The Federation, already weakened by years of conflict, could not hold the line alone. The human fleet, outnumbered and outgunned, was tasked with holding a key strategic position. It seemed impossible. The Dominion's fleet was vast, their firepower overwhelming. But Kincaid, ever the strategist, saw something that others did not. The key to victory wasn't in firepower, it was in disruption. She ordered her fleet to break from the front lines and scatter into smaller groups, each using their limited resources to create confusion and disrupt the Dominion's coordination. They attacked in waves, never staying in one place for too long, forcing the Dominion to divide their forces and react to every move. It was chaos, but it was chaos with a purpose. The Dominion's commanders, used to facing enemy forces that followed predictable patterns, were caught off guard. The battle stretched on for hours, but as the Dominion ships began to fall back, it became clear that Earth's forces were not only holding their ground, they were winning. Kincaid's unorthodox tactics, which had once been dismissed as reckless, were proving to be the difference between life and death. The Dominion's fleets, once confident in their superiority, now found themselves in retreat. Earth's victory at that battle was not just a military one, it was a psychological blow. The Dominion, who had thought themselves invincible, now had to reckon with the reality that they were not the only force in the galaxy capable of outthinking their opponents. The war was no longer a matter of firepower. It was a battle of wills, and Earth was proving they had the will to win. The Federation, though relieved by the victory, began to realize that Earth's role in the war had become more than just that of a new ally. Humans were now setting the pace of the war, pushing the boundaries of tactics, technology, and strategy. The Federation's military leaders began to adopt some of Kincaid's methods, integrating them into their own strategies. They had once been the dominant power in the galaxy, but now they were learning from the humans they had once underestimated. Meanwhile, the Dominion, stung by their repeated defeats, began to reconsider their approach. The humans, with their unpredictable tactics and seemingly limitless drive, were becoming a force to be reckoned with. Their ability to adapt to any situation and turn the tide of battle had already forced the Dominion to rethink their position in the war. For the first time, it seemed like the balance of power was shifting, and it was all because of Earth, a planet that had arrived late to the war, but was quickly becoming the decisive factor in its outcome. As Earth's forces continued to gain ground, both the Dominion and the Federation began to feel the weight of humanity's unexpected rise. What had started as a small and seemingly insignificant presence in the war had turned into the catalyst for an unprecedented shift in the conflict. The Dominion, whose strategy had long been based on overwhelming force, found themselves struggling to keep up with the relentless unpredictability of Earth's forces. The Federation, while relieved to have such powerful new allies, began to worry about the implications of humanity's rapid technological advancements. The turning point came during a decisive engagement at the edge of the Sithar system. The Dominion, unwilling to lose any more ground to the humans, had assembled a massive fleet of their most advanced warships, each one a formidable fortress in space. It was a bold move, a direct challenge to Earth's growing influence in the war. The Federation, though hesitant to engage such a formidable force without support, stood by Earth, knowing they had no choice but to fight. The battle that followed would not only test the strength of Earth's fleet, but determine whether humanity could hold its own against the might of the Dominion. At first, it seemed like a hopeless fight. The Dominion's warships were vast and powerful, their shields capable of deflecting nearly every type of weapon Earth's ships could throw at them. The Federation's fleets, though better equipped, were outnumbered and outgunned. But Earth had something that no one had expected. A secret weapon that had already begun to turn the tide of the war, the hybrid technology they had been developing. Earth's scientists, who had continued to study the mysterious artifact found deep beneath their planet's surface, had made a breakthrough. The quantum pulse weapons that had been so effective in previous battles were only the beginning. The artifact's true power was not just in its ability to generate energy, it was in its ability to manipulate space itself. The technology Earth had unlocked allowed them to bend the fabric of space-time, creating distortion fields that could disorient and disable enemy ships without firing a single shot. It was a power so beyond the understanding of the Dominion that they couldn't even begin to counter it. In the battle against the Dominion fleet, Earth's ships deployed the new space-time manipulation technology. As the human ships entered the fray, they unleashed waves of distorted energy that caused the Dominion's warships to flicker in and out of reality, their sensors going haywire and their weapons systems malfunctioning. It was chaos for the Dominion, whose forces had no way to adapt to this new form of attack. They had always relied on brute strength, but now they were facing an enemy that could rewrite the very rules of engagement. As the Dominion fleet faltered, the Federation's ships, bolstered by Earth's new technology, moved in to deliver the final blow. Earth's forces, now more coordinated than ever, struck with precision, exploiting every weakness in the Dominion's defenses. The battle ended in a crushing defeat for the Dominion, and for the first time in the war, the galaxy saw what Earth's full potential could do. The Dominion, once the most feared force in the galaxy, was now on the defensive. They had lost their edge, and their grip on the war was slipping. But even as Earth's forces celebrated their victory, they knew the war was far from over. The Federation, while grateful for Earth's involvement, was beginning to realize that the human race had unlocked something far more dangerous than they had anticipated. The Dominion, reeling from their losses, would not give up so easily. They would adapt, they would learn, and they would come back stronger. But for now, Earth had proven that their late arrival to the war was not a disadvantage. It was the very thing that had tipped the scales in the galaxy's favor. As the war raged on, the balance of power had shifted irrevocably. Earth had entered the conflict late, but they had changed the course of the war in ways no one had expected. The galaxy was beginning to realize that humanity, once thought of as weak and insignificant, was now a force to be reckoned with, and the full extent of their potential had only just begun to reveal itself. As Earth's forces continued to prove themselves as a decisive factor in the war, a new reality began to set in across the galaxy. The Dominion, still reeling from their defeats, were forced to adapt. Their once unwavering confidence was now replaced with an air of desperation. They could no longer dismiss humanity as a mere bystander in the galactic conflict. The Federation, though grateful for Earth's aid, was beginning to see a more complicated truth. Humanity's rise was shifting the balance of power in a way that was unpredictable, and this unsettled the carefully structured alliances that had existed for centuries. Earth's scientists had not stopped pushing the boundaries of what they could achieve. The quantum technology they had unlocked from the ancient artifact was still evolving, and now Earth was deploying even more advanced weapons that the galaxy had never seen before. These new technologies, combined with Earth's unconventional tactics, made their forces nearly impossible to predict. Their ability to alter the fabric of space-time, disrupt enemy sensors, and manipulate energy at a molecular level had given them an edge that no one could ignore. The Federation, though initially hesitant to fully trust humanity, began to recognize the strategic advantages of Earth's innovations. Yet even as they relied more heavily on Earth's weapons, they couldn't shake the feeling that they were becoming more and more dependent on their new allies. There was an unspoken tension within the Federation's leadership. While Earth's victories were impressive, they were also raising difficult questions. If humanity continued to advance at this pace, would they eventually surpass the Federation in power? And if that happened, what would be the place of the Federation in the new galactic order? In the midst of these questions, Admiral Kincaid found herself at the center of a political struggle. The Federation's high command had begun to suggest that Earth's increasing influence might threaten their established dominance. Some of the Federation's more conservative leaders pushed for tighter control over Earth's military operations, fearing that without oversight, humanity might begin to act on its own agenda. But Kincaid, ever the independent thinker, refused to be bound by the Federation's rules. She knew that Earth's primary responsibility was to protect their planet, not to appease the demands of galactic powers. In the meantime, the Dominion's retaliation was swift and brutal. Their fleets, though battered, regrouped and launched a new offensive that caught both the Federation and Earth off guard. The Dominion, now desperate, had begun to deploy new, highly advanced warships, including massive dreadnoughts designed to counter the disruptive quantum technology Earth had pioneered. These ships were equipped with technology that could nullify the space-time distortion fields, making Earth's advantage less effective. The war had reached a turning point. Earth's forces, while still formidable, were now facing an enemy that was willing to fight harder and smarter. The Dominion had learned from their mistakes and adapted to humanity's strategies. The Federation, caught between their alliance with Earth and the threat posed by the Dominion, was unsure of their next move. It was no longer a question of if Earth could win the war. It was a question of how long they could maintain their edge in the face of such a relentless adversary. As Kincaid and her fleet prepared for the coming battle, there was a palpable sense of tension in the air. The stakes had never been higher. Humanity had proven itself capable of achieving great things, but now they were facing their greatest challenge yet. The Dominion had shown that they were not easily defeated, and the Federation was still grappling with the ramifications of humanity's rapid rise to power. Earth's leaders knew that the galaxy was changing, but they also understood that their place in this new order would not be given. It would have to be earned. The war was far from over, and the outcome was uncertain. But one thing was clear: Earth was no longer a latecomer in the fight for survival. They were now a force to be reckoned with, and they would do whatever it took to protect their home and their future. The final battle of the war was one that would echo throughout the galaxy for centuries to come. The Dominion, emboldened by their new fleet of dreadnoughts, had launched a full-scale assault on the Federation's last stronghold. The Federation, stretched thin and struggling to keep up with the relentless Dominion, had no choice but to rely on Earth's fleet once more. Admiral Kincaid, who had proven herself time and time again, stood at the forefront of the battle. But this time, the stakes were higher than ever before. As Earth's fleet prepared for the clash, Kincaid knew that this battle would determine the future of the galaxy. It was no longer just about winning a war. It was about ensuring humanity's place in a universe that had once thought of them as weak and insignificant. Earth had proven itself capable of surviving, of adapting, and of changing the course of galactic history. But would that be enough to secure a lasting peace, or would the Dominion's relentless hunger for power crush everything Earth had fought for? The battle began with an intensity that shook the very fabric of space. The Dominion's dreadnoughts, massive and imposing, moved in formation, their weapons primed and ready to unleash devastation. Earth's fleet, though smaller in number, was far more agile. The Federation ships, now working alongside Earth's forces, moved into position, ready to fight for their survival. The Dominion had no idea that Earth's fleet had a secret weapon, one that would turn the tide of the battle and the entire war. Kincaid had learned from previous encounters that the Dominion's greatest strength was their overwhelming firepower, but she had also learned that they were slow to adapt. Earth's forces, by contrast, had grown used to fighting in unconventional ways. Kincaid's plan was bold. She would use the space-time manipulation technology one final time, but this time, it would be used on a much larger scale. The goal was not just to disrupt the Dominion's fleet. It was to tear apart their cohesion and sow confusion so deeply that they wouldn't know how to respond. As the battle raged on, Earth's fleet deployed the massive distortion fields. The Dominion dreadnoughts, unable to adjust to the sudden warping of space around them, found themselves floundering. Their communications were scrambled, their weapons malfunctioned, and their once precise formations dissolved into chaos. It was a moment of pure disarray, and in that moment, Earth's ships struck. The Federation ships, now working in tandem with Earth's forces, launched a coordinated counteroffensive. Earth's fighters darted in and out of the fray, weaving through the Dominion's disoriented ships, while the Federation's heavier firepower delivered devastating blows to the Dominion's vulnerable fleet. The dreadnoughts, once thought to be invincible, began to fall. One by one, their shields flickered and failed, their massive hulls breaking apart under the weight of combined firepower. In the chaos of the battle, something unexpected happened. The Dominion fleet, realizing that they were losing control of the fight, began to retreat. For the first time in the war, they were not simply defeated. They were shattered. The once mighty empire, whose strength had seemed unassailable, was now on the verge of collapse. The Federation, with Earth's assistance, had delivered the final blow. The Dominion, once so confident in their power, had been undone by humanity's unpredictability and raw determination. Earth, which had arrived late to the war, had emerged as the decisive force in ending the conflict. As the dust settled and the battle came to a close, Admiral Kincaid stood among her fleet, watching the remnants of the Dominion's once proud warships drift into the void. The war was over. The galaxy had changed, and Earth had proven that it was not only capable of surviving, it was capable of leading. In the aftermath, the Federation knew that they could no longer dominate the galaxy the way they once had. Earth had proven itself to be a powerful ally, but more than that, humanity had shown that they were no longer just an afterthought in galactic affairs. They were a force to be reckoned with. And as the Federation and Earth began to forge a new future together, one thing was certain. The universe would never forget the day Earth arrived late to the war and unleashed a shocking surprise that changed everything.